Mixed martial arts is a very brutal sport where fighters almost more than anybody else in the world have a risk and a possibility of getting incredibly dangerous injuries. In today's video, we would like to touch on a big topic associated with injuries and consequences that caught up to fighters sooner or later. Please don't forget about the likes, comments with forewords, and subscribe to the channel. Here we go. Number 6. Matt Mitrione. Perhaps we should start with the case that happened in January of 2016, back in the days of the past era of heavyweights in the world's best league. At UFC Fight Night 81, it was initially planned to have quite an intriguing bout between Matt Mitrione and Travis Browne. At that time, the latter had established himself in the coveted top 10, while Matt was ranked number 14 and constantly tried to move up in the rankings ladder. The fight between these guys went almost the entire distance. Both fighters continuously adjusted to each other's work and tried to get themselves closer to the desired win. Despite successful moments in the first round, beginning from the second one, Mitrione began to slow down. Browne snatched the initiative with a couple of precise shots and ultimately earned a TKO victory after the referee stopped the fight. As it was found out right on the spot, the reason for that was a couple of precise attacks to the area of Matt's right eye, due to which it swollen up to the size of a golf ball.
There it is. Holy moly. How is it feeling right now?
I can open it now, which is really good. So it feels fine. I don't feel any pain in it at all. It's just after the fight, I went and got a CAT scan. They told me I had the break in my orbital floor, and so I just have to get some surgery on that probably, unless it's not that displaced, and then kind of see what happens from there. But I mean, it is what it is. I've got feelings about it.
Luckily, over time, Matt Mitrione managed to come back in the fighting game. However, after that fight, he left the world's best league and went on to conquer Bellator. Overall, everything ended on a good note for the guy. However, at first, he really thought of retiring from the sport. But all's well that ends well. Number 5. Anderson Silva. Next, we have one of the biggest incidents in the history of the sport. It happened in December of 2013 at UFC 168, after a legendary streak of a no less legendary Anderson Silva was shattered by the hands of a young prospect in the face of Chris Weidman. The best promotion organized an immediate rematch. The second fight between the Spider and Weidman made even more noise than an unbelievable upset in their first fight, because at the beginning, the Brazilian was taking the fight in an almost one-sided fashion. In the first round, he looked a lot better than the new champion. However, this is what happened in the second one. When I kicked, it really made a sound of bone breaking, and the pain is an unsupportable thing. Unexpectedly for everybody, Anderson Silva broke his shin after landing a low kick and getting checked by Chris Weidman. It was something so sudden and terrible that even the most inveterate horror fan caught their breath, while the UFC commentators were at a loss for words. I'm not walking 100% good, but I'm already doing a few steps with the crutches. It's very painful. Still painful? Yes, a lot. It's a pain that I don't wish for anybody. Can you sleep the whole night? No. Since I came from Las Vegas, since I left hospital, I can't sleep the whole night. It's very hard. When you see this video, does it hurt again? No, I'm happy to see where I did wrong, and now my preoccupation is to be back. Subsequently, as we all know, the legendary Spider managed to recover from such a severe injury, but he ultimately couldn't fully recover both mentally and physically. He had a rapid decline, after which he couldn't come back to the previous level. And while after the episode with a knockout in the first fight with Weidman, everybody thought that it was a lucky punch and didn't even doubt the Spider's comeback. After this one, everybody acknowledged that an active career on the same level was ultimately put to rest. Number 4. Joanna Yaczyk. Now we will talk about the case that happened relatively recently and was almost the biggest one in 2020. During the time when the whole world was in quarantine due to the pandemic, the World's Best League continued to put on events no matter what. The case we're interested in took place in the co-main event of UFC 248, where the former Polish champion Joanna Yaczyk was up against the current title holder from China, Zhang Weili. The spectacle was indescribable. The fighters continuously exchanged, sometimes forgetting about the defense. Incredibly precise and heavy shots were reaching the target time and time again, so one could only be amazed how these ladies could keep standing on their feet. One couldn't definitively score rounds in favor of the Polish or the Chinese, and the title's fate was decided by the judges. In the end, the victory was given to Zhang Weili via a split decision. Both ladies cried, but one from happiness and the other from disappointment and perhaps severe pain.
I'm really happy for both of them, proud of them, and it's the fight of the year.
It might sound a bit scary, but from around the middle of the bout, the Polish face was swollen so badly that one couldn't recognize her. The lady was in horror herself, so the post-fight interview she covered the terrifying injury with a hand. In the end, after the greatest fight in the history of women's MMA, the Polish took a break for 2 years and after another loss in the rematch, retired from the professional sport. Number 3. Chris Weidman. Next in line we have the most mystical case in the history of martial arts that simultaneously tied up a couple of rivalries in one big game. By April of 2021, Chris Weidman, the guy who at first knocked out the legendary Anderson Silva and then happened to be the reason for a terrible shin break of the Spider, managed to return to the winning path after a series of stoppage losses by beating Omari Akhmedov via unanimous decision. 8 months later, he entered the cage to face Uriah Hall, who was on a 3-fight winning streak. The guys met at UFC 261, which as it is made a lot of noise thanks to the main event and other stuff. However, what happened in this fight became the biggest headline for the next few months. Especially interesting thing is that Weidman and Hall have already met on the professional scene. It was in 2010 at the local tournament Ring of Combat, and back then Chris beat Uriah via first round TKO. And 11 years later, they met for the second time. Prior to the fight, a 36-year-old Weidman believed in his title ambitions against Israel Adesanya, but the rematch with Hall happened to be a big allusion to ending a career. The fight lasted only 17 seconds, no more, no less. Moreover, during that time, the fans saw only one significant strike, which happened to be the reason for stopping the fight. Uriah didn't land a single shot. He only defended from the low kick and broke Weidman's shin. It was extremely vicious, and considering all the circumstances, it was unbelievable. In 2010, Chris beat Hall via TKO. In 2013, he beat Anderson Silva and broke his leg after a low kick check. 11 years later, he shared the cage with Uriah once again, but this time it was him who injured his shin the exact same way. One couldn't call it anything other than mystique or crazy coincidence.
The first thing that popped into my head when I broke my leg, as soon as I hit the ground, as soon as I looked at my leg and I seen it flop around, the first thing that went in my head was, I cannot believe, I thought about you. I thought about, this is Anderson Silva. My leg looked like Anderson Silva. What the hell? There's no way that's my leg right now. And then it's then all of a sudden the pain's coming in. And I remember when it happened with you, I didn't know your leg broke as soon as it happened. I thought you were just in pain. I circled around and I remember hearing this screaming, like someone was being murdered. And then I came over, and then I seen you holding your leg in your hip. And I was just, I could not believe it. Yeah. And as time went on, I tried to get in touch with you that week. I felt terrible about it. But as time went on, it was you kind of forget, and I feel terrible now because now I understand the pain that you went through, all the trials and tribulations that you went through. It just makes me empathize with you so much more with those situations. And to be honest, I've never even said this out loud, but it's been on my mind really since it happened. But I want to apologize to you because there's been times, I remember afterwards I felt terrible and everything, but then our fights were so crazy and everybody said I got lucky now twice.
Right now, Chris Weidman continues to recover. At UFC 292 in August, he is planning to return and face Brad Tavares. But can the veteran truly come back after such a severe injury? Only time will tell. Number 2. Rory McDonald. Next, we have an injury that really tarnished the career of a young and talented prospect. In July of 2015, the entire Las Vegas, Nevada and the fighting world witnessed one of the most vicious fights at the World Arena. Back then, a rising prospect, Rory McDonald, who at these times already had a Red King nickname, went up against a brutal and uncompromising berserker in the rematch, Robbie Lawler. These guys gave the world an unforgettable spectacle at UFC 189.
I never really felt like I was getting buzzed with any shots. I never felt like he hit me with anything that was messing up my equilibrium or rocking me. It was more just like he was hitting me and was breaking my bones.
The legendary brawl, not for life but for death, lasted for 21 minutes and 25 seconds of the given time. Lawler was untiringly battering the nose bridge of Rory McDonald and taking his soul from round to round.
I remember him being intense. I remember his energy. He was like, he wanted to kill me. I remember when he looked at me. I've seen him in other fights. He stares people down like that and he intimidates them. But I don't like being intimidated by people. Even though I was gassed and all I wanted to do was sit on that bench, I wasn't gonna let him just walk all over me, you know, like stare me down and make me go sit down on a bench like a bitch. So I was gonna stay there as long as I had to until the ref separated it, and that's what I did. I was on my way back to turn. I seen he was doing that to me, so I turned back around with whatever energy I had to, you know, to give it right back.
In the end, Robbie got the victory via TKO, and since then, the Red King couldn't recover, and returning to the previous level was out of the question.
I don't know, something that just, it's hard to sometimes pull the trigger now, I guess. I don't have that killer inside. I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but I hesitate a little bit now. I don't know what to say. It wasn't my best performance.
Despite a severe physical pain from damage and the nose that literally separated from the skull, Rory got more affected from a mental standpoint. He wasn't the same bloodthirsty and vicious fighter anymore. He was seen as the next superstar and knew George St. Pierre, but Lawler broke the guy both literally and figuratively. And in 2022, McDonald retired from the sport at the age of 32 on a streak of stoppage losses. Number 1. Conor McGregor. In the last place, we will overview the notorious Irishman and the injury that possibly turned his return into a hopeless case. In July of 2021, the legendary Conor McGregor was looking to avenge his loss to Dustin Poirier after a knockout at UFC 257. At that time, the overall score of their rivalry was 1-1, and at UFC 264, the fighters planned to close the trilogy in front of the whole world.
Joe, in 16 hours' time, this man is gonna learn that if you disrespect a person's kindness and take it as a weakness, you must pay. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna make this man pay with his life, and I mean it. You're dead in that octagon tomorrow night.
Despite the serious intentions and genuine anger with which the Notorious entered the main octagon, he couldn't get his revenge on the Diamond. In the end, the fight lasted for only 1 round, and even though both fighters showed a worthy competition and resistance, everything ended very abruptly and sadly. McGregor broke his leg the same way as the aforementioned Silva and Weidman, but without a low kick. The footage clearly shows Conor's pain grimace in the moment of landing, but of course he should have given credit for his cold-bloodedness and durability compared to the other fighters mentioned above.
What's up, guys? Just after getting out of the hospital. I'm after getting settled into my apartment. I'm going to be here for a while. It's close to the doctors, and I have one of these things to get around on, and I keep the foot elevated. And I have this little thing to get around on.
Many couldn't really get how the Notorious One broke his leg literally out of nowhere. There were theories that it was associated with a bad weight or other hidden injuries unknown to the public. only in 2023, in the interview with Ariel Helwani, McGregor shared his thoughts during a long recovery process.
At the time, I thought, you know, maybe I won't be able to do this again. For sure, that was in my thoughts. Was I thinking of not making the walk or maybe the roll if I was in a fucking chair? Never. I was actually, you know, where there's a will, there's a way, Ariel. If you're willing, you're able.
Currently, McGregor continues to train, participates in the new TUF season, and plans to fight Michael Chandler. Sure, it's too early to talk about the Irishman's prospects, but this year he will be 35, and such injuries don't go unnoticed. All that's left for us is to wait for specific news and wish good health to all the fighters from this compilation. Extra spot. And to conclude the topic, we cannot help but remember the case that happened in July of 2016 and ended the career of the Brazilian veteran. In Bellator 158, Evangelista Santos was set to share the octagon with the local star in the face of the bodacious Michael Page. The guys fought for almost 2 rounds. The young prospect was always holding the initiative and winning the fight with no issues. MVP was baiting the Cyborg in his humiliating manner, landing shots from different angles. At first, nothing really dangerous happened in this spectacle. However, this is what happened with half a minute left in the second round. Venom decided to jump and literally smashed Santos' skull with a knee. He really landed so hard that the Brazilian's frontal bone simply couldn't take it and broke. Of course, the continuation of the career was completely out of the question. The promotion paid for all medical bills, helping the fighter and ex-wife of Evangelista begin to raise money for his future rehabilitation.
Michael Page hit Cyborg Santos with a knee so hard that he fractured his skull.
Seen that.
His skull caved in, and the fucking MRIs are insane. I've never seen that. In all my years of watching fights and being involved in martial arts, I've never seen anybody's head caved in like that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. You know, I can imagine some trauma and some injuries, and you know, and I seen Cyborg was like, "Oh, I'll be fine. I'll be fighting in 3 months."
Yeah, that's what he
and
said.
I'm like, "Bruh,
yeah,
no,
what?
No, dude."
Perhaps it is the most extraordinary case in MMA history and mixed martial arts in general, because there was literally a hole in the Brazilian's head. And it's not the most pleasant thing to watch, so it's no wonder that Santos eventually retired. Which of the aforementioned cases did you remember the most? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the new videos, and of course, hit the like button if you enjoyed this one. See you soon.